Good morning, everybody. My name is Ewa Matyjaszczyk. I'm leading EPO activities on plant protection products. And by the way of introduction to this meeting, I would like to say what is EPO and why we work on basic substances. But before I do it, I can say that I checked some information on this project and I followed activities, and I'm impressed by the amount of the work. And thank you at the beginning to everybody for doing such a great job. So EPO is international organization, and it is an abbreviation from European and Mediterranean Plant Protection Organization. We are intergovernmental organization created over 70 years ago, and currently we have 52 member countries. And you can see member countries of EPO marked by green color on this map on the right side of the slide. EPO works in international cooperation in plant health, and we work for and with national plant protection organization. It means that in every member country, our contact point is governmental authority of country responsible for plant protection. There are two main areas of EPO work. One is plant protection products, and one is plant quarantine. EPO works on EPO standards.
If you want to share the screen.
And I didn't share the screen.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Apparently, I didn't share the screen.
So can you just get it out of this? No, get out of the.
Yeah. Your screen is this one. Oh, so yeah. So apparently I didn't share my screen, and I think I should do it now. Oh, yes. Now it's well. Thank you for letting me know. So just I wouldn't like to repeat all the information I've already given. But speaking about EPO, you can see now the 52 member countries of EPO marked in green color on the map. And as you can see, they include the countries of Europe, including all countries of EU, countries of North Africa, and some countries of Western Asia. There are two main areas of EPO work. One is plant protection products, and it is promotion of the use of modern control methods effective against pests, and one is plant quarantine. And within area of plant protection products, because basic substances are basically used for plant protection, we work on EPO standards on plant protection products efficacy evaluation. We have about 350 standards produced together. Data on databases, on harmonization of data on plant protection products, and we also produce workshop in the area of plant protection products. But what is important, why international organization actively supports BasicS project? The issue is that those basic substances are substances which are widely available. Usually people can easily obtain them. Some of them you can simply have usually in normal casual household. Normally for plant protection product, there is industry, and industry usually is interested to promote them. But for basic substances, there is no industry. So information about their efficacy and their availability and about possibilities of their use may be less promoted than about registered plant protection product. And besides, EPO Council recommended EPO to work more on IPM, and in my view and in view of my colleagues, basic substances, which are quite not very often food components, are very good mean to include to IPM tool package. And also, I would like to say that EPO succeeds only for collaboration between experts in the region and beyond, and would like to take this opportunity to thank all experts that may be, again, among our listeners. And with this, I would like to pass the floor to Nico Horn, EPO Director General, who is with us.
Yeah, thank you, Eva, for introducing our organization. I think many of you may know it already, but it's good to have the details on the screen. I'm very happy to welcome you here at the EPO headquarters. I think Euphresco projects like BasicS can play an important role in collaboration within and beyond the EPO region for researchers to work together and to join forces. It's my pleasure to have you here for the final meeting. So I will hope you'll have good discussions today on the project and on its outcomes. I will not join the whole day, but it's my pleasure to be here for the start of the meeting. And as I said, I wish you a good meeting. Thank you very much. And of course, thanks for the support of Natalie and Eva, and also Baldissera to be here representing EPO as host here. And if you have any questions or difficulties, just ask them and they may be able to help you. Thank you.
So I think now we are giving the floor to Gianfranco, to Baldissera. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Eva. Good morning, everyone. I'm Baldissera Giovani, and I'm the coordinator of Euphresco. So I'm very pleased to sit today here with part of the BasicS consortium. BasicS, it's a special project to me. First of all, because it covers different activities from those that are classically covered in Euphresco project. It's about plant protection products, and it's a nice case study for the future. But also the BasicS project was built as a global research network, and this is really the first case. We have scientists from South America up to East Asia. And in a certain way, I can say that the BasicS project has anticipated what Euphresco is going to be in the future. I'm currently negotiating with the European Union a funding to support the global development of Euphresco, and this means that in the future, Euphresco will serve hopefully a global community, but also a broader range of research activities. And finally, I would like to thank Gianfranco Romanazzi, special coordinator with many qualities. And I would like to learn from you, Gianfranco, because you are able to steer many different people and allow them to work and be happy. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Baldissera, and it is a pleasure for us to be hosted here in EPO, and thanks for opening your very nice building in a Saturday of end of August, in which most of people are in holiday. So it is a special pleasure for us. Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Nico, and thanks to all the staff of EPO that allowed us to have this meeting here today. and thanks, Natalie. A special thank to Baldissera because he allowed, with this idea of a potential project, actually at the beginning it was the call, we applied, and Baldissera replied me, oh, there is not enough interest in this project. And I told, let's try to go on and let's see. And we are here, and we are happy to try to share some of things, just to provide some idea of what we are doing, what we did, what we are doing, and what we are planning to do, because this project, as I will tell later, and maybe I can start sharing my screen to have a just short presentation about our activity. I welcome also the people that took the time in a Saturday of August to be with us, and the people that are following on the meeting on Euphresco BasicS webpage. And so it is streaming on Facebook page as well, this meeting. So I saw somebody that is following there as well. So thanks to all of you, and thanks to Marwa, with which we prepared this presentation. Just to give an overview, the logo, for example, on the left is produced by Baldissera in the behalf of a meeting that we had in London, and it represents more or less something that we hit, and it can have a use in plant protection. And as we will learn later from Patrice, the basic substances are compounds that comes or are directly related, something that what we eat, and then does not require all the testing that are needed for plant protection products. We know that to register a plant protection products, we need from 10, and now we are around 13 years. That is a very long time, and it requires a huge amount of money, 250 to 300 million euro. So it's a huge amount of money that the company plays into the system, and they need to invest if they see a future. And in the recent time, it is there is a kind of wind that is toward the plant protection products, so the company are not investing anymore in chemical compounds, but in alternatives. Now the EU regulation is in progress to be updated to make it easier and also less costly the registration of alternative compounds, so biocontrol agents, natural compounds, and so on. Basic stance is something different, as Patrice will tell later. So are compounds that are already in use as food ingredients or foodstuff, and then we don't need to demonstrate that they are not harmful. We have to remember, and we have to know that all plant protection products are deeply investigated for their harmfulness. So if they are on the market and if they are used properly, they are not harmful for the people. And this is very important, we have to take in mind. So, of course, we have to leave a better world to the people that comes after us. So we need to be sustainable, and those SDG that are worldwide by United Nations were taken in EU by a list of strategies. One of them is farm to fork, and one that is related to the plant growing and to the agro-food sector is the farm to fork strategies that move from the grower to our table. And this plan, an increase of organic agriculture now is around 8–9% in overall, and we need to take to 25%. And there are some countries, for example, in Italy, we are at 17%. So we are growing pretty fast because organic agriculture is perceived by grower, by consumer as safer And then there are a growing number of consumers that take organic products. We have to reduce waste. Waste is something that is produced, but it goes into the garbage. And here we can see a list of figures that are taking my basket of fruit, where a lot of fruit by a single disease, but Apple, for example, recently had a code of organism, and it is a huge mess of organism, pathogen, pest, but also weeds that compete with our production and try to feed what we grow or what the growers grow, reducing the part that is edible for the consumer. So if we reduce the waste, we can have more food. That is important for both developed and developing countries. But we have to do the same with halving of synthetic pesticide. This is not easy to understand for somebody that works in agriculture, because with this statement, you assume that half of what it is used is useless. So, of course, we have to improve. We have to use less synthetic pesticide, but we have to place the grower in condition to grow the food that we eat properly. We should think to the grower at least 3 times per day when we approach to the food. If we eat something or we drink something, there is a grower usually that is behind us that did such kind of work. So among those alternatives to synthetic pesticide, there are those basic substances. Once more, apart the law, there are the retailers that compete each other, because when a plant protection product is registered, there is a residue, a maximum residual level that is calculated also with safety reason. So it is 100 times below a kind of damage level for the consumer. Then some retailers tell, okay, for me, it's not enough to have the MLR. I want 80% or even 50% or 1/3 of the MLR. And then the plant doctors, the consultants need to work a lot, because another request is, I don't want the residues more than 5 or 4 or even 3 products. And we know that if we want to take home the production, we need to show to the fungi, to the bacteria, to the pests that they should not feed on that. Otherwise, we will not take a good production. So to fit in those rules is very, very difficult for the grower and for the consultants that support the grower. Then those basic substances can complement the use of synthetic pesticide and can meet this kind of reduction. As we told, the EU regulation had a specific article on those basic substances. This regulation that is now under rethinking, and it plans the way to reach the halving of synthetic pesticide. Also, there is this Article 23 that deals with basic substance, with approval criteria, and Patrice Marchand will deal more about this. So they should be linked to human consumption. They do not have MLR. Usually they do not have pre-harvest interval, and they should be labeled with the name of active ingredient, and most of the time they are approved in organic farming. There is a further evaluation. So it was this call from Euphresco, and we met with some colleagues, and I want to remember Luca Riccioni, that he passed away some years ago, and he gave a very good hand into the, and maybe Laura Orzali will tell us something about. He supported us in the implementing of this project. We have friends from several parts of the world that were happy to join this project, and here are more or less the countries that are involved. We interacted with a good bunch of friends, and thanks to all of you, and I saw most of you that are connected for cooperation in this project. And we know that Euphresco does not provide money for the research. So basically, all the units that want to join contribute with their work and their time. So there is an in-kind budget that it is calculated for the project. And we have a list of WP with the different units that lead and co-lead them. I will not go into many details because we will have the presentation on those WP. And we started officially in May 2021, and we had a list of webinars where this kickoff meeting, we had a joint paper and then to Patrice that placed together all the units in this paper, and this was just, he presented the network that was working on those BasicS stands that are compounds that are already used in, for example, in organic agriculture, and even in biodynamic agriculture, but are compounds that are familiar to us. For example, the vinegar that we use in the kitchen, or the sodium bicarbonate that they use as well, or the chitosan that we use into the pills as compound stabilizer, or the nettle extract that is used for pests and so on. So they are already use this kind of article and this kind of law and approval BasicS stance implemented the use and regulated the use. So you can, but which are those BasicS stance? Now there are 24, but Patrice will give you some advanced on this, so you can see the different color are linked to the different effects. Each one of those has a kind of registration dossier that is less costly, but it costs as well, because you need to do some literature search, you need to do some reporting, and you need to upload, as we will hear later. So a big bunch of them are fungicide activity, that are one in blue, fungicide and bactericide that are one underlined, or fungicide and insecticide, all one in blue with a different underlining. But we have molluscicide, elicitor, protectant, virucide, attractants, insecticide, repellent, herbicide, insectifuge, fungifuge, scent masking, and acaricide. Being including in this list is not a warranty of effectiveness. So they were found effective at least once, but you cannot tell, I used it and it didn't work. Maybe you didn't use as it was written, or as it was advised, or as it was in the former protocol. So this project, Euphresco BasicS, tried to implement this use and show the case, let's call the success case, the best case of success in the use of those compounds. And thanks to all the colleagues, so Silvia Tofolatti, Antonio Ippolito, Laura Orzali, that will show some examples, but many more people are involved and are also involved in those presentations, and will provide both orally and in a written way. So we have to leave a trace of what we are doing. To communicate our activity, we opened some social media, and we had a list of webinars. So for example, Eva since the beginning was very close to us under the supervision of Valdisera, that was very kind. Any time that we met, he took some time of his busy schedule to support us and to encourage us to do more. And Patrice is a leader of registering of those compounds, so he provides advice on how to go on in the best way. Also, for the small companies that wants to approach to this market, that we can tell it is a niche market as compared to the one of plant protection products. We also try to give a broader room to our activity, so we linked to MDPI horticulture with some webinars that were streamed, and they were followed by a big bunch of people. So I thank all the people that are partner of the project that showed. I will go very fast, but we had a list of webinars and showed their best case of success in the use of those basic substances. We had some of them, and we are happy of what we did. We may do something more, of course. The project actually is not yet officially closed, but we will try to close as soon as possible. And we left trace of what we did in a list of papers that are co-authored by participants to the meeting and to the project. So we have just some examples on the paper that are produced. We are more than 20 papers that are produced, and for example, some of our colleagues has Elizabeth Carafa had some dissemination at the local level. For example, in Hungary, they opened their social media, and so it was very nice to have this kind of cooperation. There were some news in local journals, so we tried to disseminate the activity of this project. We talked about this project in different meetings, so the topic was appealing for international congress, and we tried to join them, or we had some webinars and talks about, even in conference, for example, the one in London, thanks Baldissera for invitation, or partnership with ETP. And you told, did you finish? Not yet, because we planned to produce a list of reviews, and thanks to the people that are leading those reviews, some are already in a high stage, others are developing, are quite close to be submitted or to be published. And for example, the one of Silvia Tofolatti is already submitted, and maybe it is close. She will tell us later, close to publication. And I thank all the people that are joining this final meeting. And so we try to do our best to disseminate the knowledge on those basic substances. The subject was cool also for interaction among the research working groups, because it was exchange of people. There are just some examples, but many more will come. And we will try to produce a kind of report for EPO, because it may be taken in mind for the next regulation issues. And so we had this kind of network that share the knowledge to find alternative to synthetic pesticide. Right now, there is a discussion on the sustainable use regulation that can have some critical points that need to be addressed, because we understand that Farm Control told you have to reduce of 50%, but to give a clear cut of 50% on everything is not easy. And to tell that you don't have to use, for example, the pesticide in the area that are the protected area, where you can grow a lot of plants in those protected areas. So if you don't use plant protection products, you will not have a production, and we grow on the face of the world. So we have to take feed for us and for all the other people. Then this network is going on, and within this network, we had several cooperation with which we started a new project. It is another project. It is COS project. And just in case any of you is interested, is welcome to join. You can just scan the QR code that Marwa drew, and you can lead to the page, and you can subscribe for a working group, and you may contribute to those activities. This is what we did, and thanks for all of you for the attention and to this, but also to the following presentation. At the end, we will have a discussion, so feel free to ask, and we will try to do our best to answer. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Gianfranco, for your very interesting presentation. I'm amazed about the efforts needed to get the basic substances approved. I didn't know these numbers. You said it well. The project didn't finish yet, and I would say for a topic like that, such an activity should never end. And I consider the Euphresco project as a seed. And from my side, what I can say is that in the framework of the activities of the global network, we will put a lot of attention to communicating to the policymakers, because this is a requirement from the call we answer to. And so the idea is to have a number of case studies to communicate research to policymakers, national policymakers in different countries worldwide. And I would like to propose that we work together to communicate on the basic substances. So this is one of the case studies I would like to use. And so it's an invitation to all of you to work together in the next months.
Thank you, Baldesera. And we just came from the International Plant Pathology Congress in Lyon, and we had a poster with all the units that were involved, trying to take attention because, as Eva told earlier, the company are interested in those basic substances, increasingly interested, but not so much, because you cannot protect with a patent a basic substance. You can do with a plant protection product, so you can develop, but you cannot protect as a patent. Some companies are taking in their catalog the basic substance, but it is something that is starting, and we try to intercept this interest and try to go on. And thanks for your proposal. It is very interesting, and we are proud to get invited, and we'll try to do our best to support whatever is needed. So Eva, if you want, you can introduce the other speakers.
Thank you very much, Gianfranco, and thank you very much for your interesting presentation. The next speaker will be Silvia Topolatti from Italy. Go ahead, Silvia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Silvia Laura Toffolatti. I'm teaching plant pathology at the University of Milan, and I have the honor today to speak to you about the results that we achieved within the working package 3 of the Euphresco BasicS project. Our working package is dealing with the tests on basic substances and potential basic substances in the management of diseases and pests in the field. So you can imagine it's a huge working packages where we involved many people. And here you can see all the partners that decided to join the WP3 task. And in particular, we have 15 institutes from 10 countries from all over the world. We start from Italy, we move to France, Hungary, Poland, Spain, Czech Republic, Brazil, and then we move very far away from our old Europe continent. Colombia, Mexico, and Iran. So you see how many institutes are involved, and for each institution, many people were involved. I could not list all of them, but they are going to be, of course, disclosed in our final publication at the end of the project. So, which was the objective of our working package? It is dealing with both potential basic substances and approved basic substances. So that's why we had to carry out an experimental activity, which was based not only on field trials, which was which is our main task, but also to laboratory tests, where we assess the efficacy of potential basic substances, mainly against pests and pathogens. What is interesting about basic substances, the approved basic substances in particular, is that they are published on the European pesticide database, along with their protocols for use against pests and insects and pathogens on a specific plant. So once a basic substance is approved, you can also think to extend its use against other pathogens, other pests on different crops. So that's why we had also a huge laboratory test activity. But today, in the presentation I'm going to give you, I will start from actually the last activity that we carried out, which is the writing of a literature review on approved and potential basic substances. So we did this review because we wanted to point out which is the level of development of these basic substances, the approved and potential basic substances at this point, to start from this point and go beyond and develop more basic substances and more uses of these basic substances. As you can see from the number of the authors, we are many. We are 17 authors for just one review. It's a huge number of authors, but each one of the authors actively collaborated to the writing of this paper. I'm really happy to coordinate this work. Here you can see the graphical abstract of our works, where you can see that we deal with basic substances in crop protection from their registration to their application and field evaluation. Our main purpose in this working package is to assess their field evaluation, because we need to find out which are the best solutions for the farmers in their typical growing areas. These are our keywords, our key messages from this review. So we need the safe and effective plant protection products for food security, to preserve food security and safety. Basic substances are non-toxic tools that could be exploited for crop protection. However, the field efficacy of these substances is not very well explained in the literature. So we set up the point by literature searching on field efficacy. What we found out in our field, in our literature review, is that for best results, the field use of basic substances must be optimized case by case. So crop by crop, pathogen and pest by pathogen and pest, and also considering the environment where we use them. However, saying that, we saw that we have many basic substances that can increase sustainability of our crop protection products. This is the outline of the review, where we have an introduction on the basic substances. Then we deal with the activity of approved basic substances on different crops and pathogens. Then we have a section on the efficacy of these substances against insects. How we can use these basic substances in disease management? Can we combine them with other plant protection products? We deal also with this. And then there is a very important section on the studies on potential basic substances, which are the issues that we can encounter when we try to register, approve a basic substance, and also the type of workflow that must be followed to register one of these. And then we have the discussion and conclusions. What is interesting about our the start of our scientific literature review is that we see that through time, the number of papers, let's say the collective number of papers on dealing with basic substances is constantly increasing. This is a good sign, because it means that there is a lot of attention on these basic substances, and we can also use this attention of the scientific community to improve our disease and pest management programs. We started dealing with grapevine downy mildew, where we saw that chitosan was as effective as traditional plant protection products in the control of downy mildew, but also in the control of gray mold of table grape. We also found out in the literature review that sodium bicarbonate can have a very good effectiveness against gray mold. Then we move with Jolanta Kowalska to potato, and we saw that There are solutions with basic substances for control of late blight with chitosan and other basic substances such as horsetail macerate, but also against potato early blight, where we can see that extracts of onion had very encouraging results. One thing that we have to say here is that not always onion extracts were effective. It depends on also the effectiveness of onion extracts depended also on the variety of onion that was used. And this is something that we have to keep in mind, because when we promote the use of basic substances, we have also to think about this side of the use of these substances. We move also to the basic substances that are used for post-harvest diseases of fruits, and we saw that chitosan was effective against several diseases of strawberries, sweet cherries, apricots, peaches, jujube, and tomato. And also, in this case, we see onion extracts that were effective against pear decay. Then we move to the insects, and we saw that there is very little literature on the side of the insects, and so there is the need of increasing the literature and the studies on this very interesting topic. What we saw is that basic substances can use as traps, such as diammonium phosphate, repellents, such as onion oil, physical barriers, such as talc, resistance inducers, and here we have sugars and chitosan, and it can use also as insecticide, as in the case of urtica extract and chitosan. So we have a very broad range of mode of action of these basic substances, but more studies are needed to assess their efficacy and their mechanism of action against the insects. So how can we use these basic substances? We can use them alone, but we can also use them in combination with other plant protection products, the traditional ones, but also with microorganisms and resistance inducers. So this was assessed in the literature. They saw that chitosan and copper are very effective against grapevine downy mildew, and also sucrose and pyrethrum had a synergistic effect in the management of an insect, Scacoideus citanus, which is the vector of the grapevine flavescens doré phytoplasma. For the coming to the potential basic substances side that was written by Patrice Marchand, we can see that a lot of potential basic substances are present in the literature, but not always a potential basic substances will become an approved basic substance. And this is because there are some toxicological issues that must be taken into consideration. And probably Patrice will tell us more about that in the end of this day. And how can we let our potential basic substances being approved by European Union? This is quite tricky, because there is a procedure, the Euclid procedure, which is quite difficult to be addressed by common people. So Patrice showed that only huge consortia are able to use this process, and so this process should be simplified to allow more people to access it and have more approved basic substances. So as a conclusion, what we saw in the literature level, is that chitosan is the most commonly used and well-studied basic substance. It is used against pathogens and insects with great success. There are other substances which are effective, but sometimes they are not. But there are some issues with these basic substances, because maybe they are not treated well, or the variety that was used to prepare the basic substances was not correct. So there is a lot of work to do to standardize the protocols for the use of these basic substances. And what we saw in this literature level is that field trials in specific environments are needed to provide a technical advice to farmers regarding the use of basic substances. And this is a key point, because you cannot just publish a protocol. You have to validate it in your own context to let the farmers use it in the best way. Then we move to our experimental activities. Many of our activities were done in the laboratory, but also we have field trials experiments. Here you can see the tasks that are present in our working package, and I try to summarize them by considering different the topics. I divided the topics according to the crop and the pathogen, and I also used the chronological order that the WUPI members gave me their presentation. So you can see here that we start with our group. My group is set up at the University of Milan, and I don't have the time to introduce all the participants to each member, but you can see them listed in our slides. We tested some basic substances and potential and approved against downy mildew of grape and Phytophthora infestans on tomato. And as you can see, the best results were achieved by sodium bicarbonate, which was effective against both Phytophthora infestans and Plasmopara viticola. We also had pectin, and as you can see, they were effective, such as a traditional fungicide, which is mondipropamid. They achieved the same level of success, of course, at the laboratory level. So what we are doing now is moving to the greenhouse, and then we hope to move also to the field to validate these products. Then we move to the Università Politecnica delle Marche with Professor Romanazzi and Davide Piancatelli. And here you can see that they performed field trials in different locations on different cultivars of grapevine, and they assessed the efficacy of chitosan alone or in combination with copper against downy mildew. And you can see that they achieved very good results. They achieved the same results as copper or better than copper. Then we move to Bari, the southern Italy, the Puglia region, with Professor Antonio Ippolito and Maria Mincuzzi. They are dealing with disease, the green mold of table grape, and they also tested chitosan 50%. And they saw a very, very good results in the treated samples compared to the control, also in the post-harvest condition. And here you can see how chitosan hydrochloride gave very good results in the protection from the disease. Then we move to Poland, to the group of Professor Jolanta Kowalska. She's mainly dealing with diseases of potato, and she tried different basic substances, and among these we see the onion extracts, and she saw very good levels of protection in the plants which were treated with onion extract 25% and also 5%, but the best results were achieved by 25% concentration. And she also found out that the average fresh weight was higher in those samples which were of tomato, which were treated with cinnamon water filtrates against Botrytis cinerea, the grey mold agent. Interestingly, she's also dealing with a search tool with pest crops, basic substances in her own country. Then we move to Czech Republic. And we see that the researchers that are involved in this member group are dealing with hop downy mildew. So we come back to downy mildew, but we go on hop, and they saw that the samples which were treated with chitosan were all classified in the very low or no damage category. As you can see, most of the samples, about 80–90% of the samples, was classified in the no damage or weak damage. So this is a very, very good result that they achieved on a different crop. We move to Hungary, to the group of Erzsébet Carafa, and they tried chitosan in different concentration, and they also tested chitosan hydrochloride, so different formulations of chitosan against several pathogens in vitro, and they saw that the growth inhibition of chitosan hydrochloride was higher than chitosan, the simple chitosan formulate. So this is a good result, and then they moved to pre and post-harvest treatment on sour cherry. and they treated with different strategies, so pre-harvest, post-harvest, and they tested the shelf life, fruit firmness, colony forming units of molds, and the best results were achieved in the shelf life test, where they saw the pre-harvest treatment was effective with chitosan. Then they tested in the field the efficacy of chitosan on grapevine downy mildew, and they found different results in different cultivars. So on Merlot, they saw some results which are significant and maybe should be improved in the future, but no results on Cabernet Franc. So again, there is something that we have to set up better in the use of, or consider better in the use of basic substances. Then we move abroad and we go to Mexico with in the group of Porfirio Gutierrez Martinez, which is testing basic substances against tropical diseases. You can see here different examples, and they tested from chitosan, essential oils, methyljasmone, salicylic acid, hydroxide peroxide, and so on. Their best results were achieved, as you can see here, on mango, on Colletotricum, by using chitosan treatment at 24 hours, 25 degrees. And here you can see that chitosan 1.5% completely produced from, completely protected mango from Colletotricum. Then they also tested basic substances against jackfruit, and they saw again that there was a very good result when they mixed chitosan plus sodium benzoate. So they had good results with these basic substances. In Mexico, the group of Silvia Bautista Baños dealt with nanostructure coating-based natural products for controlling post-harvest microorganisms. So they tested chitosan nanoparticles against several pathogens on different crops. And the best results are here underlined, and you can see that the best results were achieved by chitosan thyme essential oil nanoparticles, on avocado against Colletotricum creosporioides, on bell pepper against Alternaria alternata, and chitosan alone was effective against Colletotricum fragaria on strawberry. Interestingly, they also saw that the nanocoatings of chitosan led to a reduced presence of Pectobacterium carotoborum in their bell pepper and tomato samples. We come back to Italy and we go to the University of Verona with the group of Nicola Mori, which is dealing with insects. Here, as you can see, they try to test the efficacy of several substances, and some are basic substances such as sweet orange oil and flavonoids and tannins. And as you can see, the mortality rate of some insects was increased by these basic substances. So this is a very interesting result, and they are developing more on that. The ovideposition of Bactocera olee was not so good with the oloeuropein, which is a potential basic substance, but they are trying to improve also this part of their study. So I come to the conclusion. So as you can see from an overview of our results, basic substances are confirmed to be very interesting crop protection molecules, but sometimes their efficacy is influenced by other factors that can be also the crop cultivars that we are using, and also the variety that we are using to produce our basic substance. So we really need further research. We cannot stop here. This is just a starting point to go on and find the most effective protocols for the use of our basic substances. And this is really important because strategies involving the implementation of the basic substances must be evaluated at a local scale to provide the farmers with the best utilization advice. So with this, I want to thank you. I want to really deeply thank our WUPI members, because they really push a lot of effort in doing their research. I would like to thank our coordinator, Gianfranco Romanazzi, and Baldissera Giovani for supporting us at the beginning of our project and also at the end of our project. Many thanks, really.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. I think for this presentation regarding use of basic substances to manage diseases and pests in the field, and I think from the results you presented, we can already see that basic substances may constitute a very precious tool in the IPM toolbox. And really, indeed, I agree. It looks like they should be studied more. Are there any questions just now? Thank you. If not, then the next speaker will be Antonio Ippolito from University of Bari. And his presentation will be focused on also on use of basic substances to manage post-harvest diseases and pests.
Yeah, thank you very much.
If you're at this moment, I will show good name.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for introducing me. And first of all, I have to thank all the organizer of this kind of project that for sure is very important for the future of for controlling diseases in the field, as said by Sylvia, and also in the case of post-harvest. I will speak in particular on the work package number 4 of this BasicS project. And the title is Efficacy of Basic and Potential Basic Substances for Controlling Post-Harvest Disease and Pests. This work package was dealt by me and by Gianfranco Romanazzi. For this work package, I had the contribute of many of the research unit, almost 20 research unit involved in gaining results for this work package. I move directly, since the time is no long, to the objective that is of this work package is to test, to have proof of the effectiveness of basic and also potential basic substances for controlling post-harvest disease. We have many tasks, 9 tasks, and each one is involved in testing some kind of these substances. Directly in task number 1 of this task, the use of a chitosan and or essential oil, that is the task more, I can say, crowded with a lot of results. And directly, for example, the result obtained by Erzsébet and co-workers from the University of Debrecen from Hungary. They tested some substances, in particular chitosan and chitosan hydrochloride on sour cherry. We have some overwhelming with the previous presentation, but you know, sometimes it's necessary to apply before harvest something that can be useful to control post-harvest diseases. So you can have results before harvest because of you have some disease that show problems in the field, but sometimes no problems in the field. For example, we will see in sweet cherry for our trials, but you will see results in post-harvest because you can control, you can prevent pre-harvest infection. I mean latent or latent infection or incipient infection. In Hungary, Erzsébet tested the chitosan at different concentration and pre-harvest and post-harvest coating. They observed different activity on in vitro trials against Monilias, Aspergillus, Penicillium, and some species, some strain were very well controlled, as you can see here, for example, for Monilinia, but other, for example, Penicillium and Coletroticum were not affected so heavily by chitosan. Firmness of the fruits was improved, and fungal contamination of fruits was reduced also because chitosan has a direct activity against the pathogen, and the shelf life of sour cherry was for sure increased, also because the reduction of the disease. The same also in my university, my group, we tested chitosan hydrochloride sodium bicarbonate as basic substances, but also a red seaweed extract on sweet cherry and on table grapes, different variety, and we will see that the results were different, depends on the variety. For example, on sweet cherry, chitosan was the best one, whereas on sweet earth, sweet cherry, another sweet cherry variety, all the tested substances were effective. Why this? Because lapens was a little over-ripened, so no good answer, we can say, from the fruits. On table grapes also, great result with the chitosan during storage, but not so good on Alison. Why? Because there are different variety, clearly, but also different management, different environment, so different response by this kind of substances. Chitosan was also used by Filomena Sannino from the University of Naples. She tested a chitosan 3D porous structure together also with the gallic acid, different concentration of both substances, and they observed that this kind of preparation was effective against E. coli and the Streptococcus aureus. Mexico, with Porfirio Gutierrez Martinez, he tested the chitosan also against different strain of Colletotricum siamense that is responsible of anthracnose of avocado has, and also in this case some strain are more resistant to the activity of chitosan and different concentration, but most importantly, the quality of the fruits of avocado was really increased, as you can see in this slide, with chitosan at higher concentration, 1 and 1.5%. Also on us avocado worked Benur Matthews from Basel, and he used essential oil of various substances, of various herbs, Thymus, Lipia, and Chimpopogon, and he tested the activity of this essential oil in vitro. And all of them, as you can see here, were effective in reducing the activity, the growth of mycelium and also conidial germination. It is clear that this kind of essential oil should be tested also and mainly on in vivo activity against the disease. Clemencia Chavez Lopez from University of Teramo and Jamie Yolima Peralta Ruiz from Colombia, they tested potential basic substance as ruta graveolens essential oil, and they found that stop it. Okay. The activity in vitro was with the essential oil of this from this plant was fine, and also the activity in vivo on papaya was remarkable. And the most effective substance in this essential oil was nonanol. University of Turin with Davide Spadaro and Monica Mezzalama, they applied essential oil from different plants, but they applied biofumigation with the slow release diffuser against bloom mold and rot of nectarine. Thyme oil, thyme-based formulation were very effective in using bloom mold on apples, and also the fennel essential oil was the most effective in reducing the development of botrytis and monilia on stone fruits. What they say that essential vapor did not affect the quality. So this is another important aspect, that these substances should not reduce the quality or should for sure improve. John Golding from Australia, he tested orange essential oil just mildly oxidized with treatment with ultraviolet light on post-harvest disease of citrus, and he observed that the oxidation of this essential oil with ultraviolet light was able to increase the activity of this essential oil against the disease on oranges. Mohamed Beshir Alagui from Inrat, Tunisia, tested a lot of essential oil and directly on the pathogen, but also on the disease. And among these, the most effective were cinnamon bark, floral buds of cloves, fragrant wintergreen leaves. And he also tested the metabisulfate against the disease on apple, blue mold on apple, and a certain percent, 0.5%, was effective in reducing the development in vivo of this disease. Task number 2 of this 4 was concerning the salts on fruits and vegetables. Xiaomeng Guo from South China Agricultural University, she tested the calcium chloride as salt, and she worked a lot in the mechanism of action, but she concluded that more important is the enzymatic browning of the pericarp of a lychee fruit, softening of the pulp, and disease incidence were delayed. This is an aspect very important. The calcium, not only as calcium chloride, but different compounds based on calcium are very interesting, because they have a different mode of action. They increase the strength, they strengthen the resistance of the cell wall, but this kind of substance of cation can have also an activity against the pathogen. And I remember we used also with Gianfranco when we worked in Bari, calcium chloride and other kind of calcium that was a very good substance in reducing sour rot of table grapes, against which there is no good, and there are no good plant production product, and also green and also gray mold. So is a substance that should be pushed, I think, in the basic substances. Chemists Youssef and Sergio Roberto from Egypt and Brazil, respectively, they tested sodium bicarbonate, sodium chloride, and potassium sorbate against post-harvest disease of oranges, and they obtained interesting results with the no negative effect on the quality. Pervin Kinay Texture, also from Izmir, Turkey, tested various salts, sodium and potassium carbonate and bicarbonate and ammonium carbonate together with hot water, and these salts are very well known for their activity, and their activity can be improved by the use of also of hot water. Then we have this red shirt group that is really powerful, we have to say, not because Gianfranco is here. They worked on ozone, that is an interesting substance, although the activity of this substance depends on the commodity. For example, they tested 45 parts per billion of these gases, ozone, and there was no activity on the 2 cultivars they tested, but applying 50 parts per billion during the day and 200 parts per billion during the night, they had reduction more than 50% of the development of post-harvest disease. However, they said also that there was a slight phytotoxicity effect on fruit. So I mean, should be further explored, this kind of this substance, this gas in peaches. Is very interesting. Why? Because it is a gas. So like sulfur dioxide, that is the most useful substance, chemical substance for controlling post-harvest disease on table grape. The gas can go through every kind of fruits, every kind of package, and can really, if well concerned, is really an interesting solution for controlling post-harvest disease. Botanical extract, task for number 3, Alessandra Di Francesco from the University of Udine, northern Italy. She worked on Brassica nigra, the fatted meal, and the propolis, and she found that this fatted meal biofumigation was effective in reducing Cadophora lutea olivacea, that is a disease that is called skin pitting of kiwi fruit. Skin pitting of kiwi fruit, very important during post-harvest, because it appears very late after you have invested a lot of money for harvesting, storage, and so on. And also she worked on propolis. The most effective was the propolis obtained from mountain, and with ethanol extraction at 19%. The CM from Bari, Simona Sanzani and co-workers, they worked with Moringa oleifera extract that was made in the University of Bari, the extract from 2 different moringa, one from cultivated in greenhouse and one cultivated in open field, and they were they showed a different activity. In this case, we can see that lettuce treated with the 2 moringa were more developed than the control, clearly, but also fertilizer, and the same good results were obtained with the Fabaceae enzymatic hydrolysate. Hydrolysate I remember was from soy. And in this case, there was in these leaves an increased total phenolic content, an increased antioxidant activity, and also clearly a reduced area of leaves infected by botrytis. Iran, with the Mehdi Hossein Farai, they tested pomegranate peel extract that is an interesting substance, because we have a lot of waste after obtaining the juice from pomegranate. It was very effective. Also, we have a lot of literature on that. They tested this extract on post-harvest disease of citrus, and the higher was the concentration of this peel extract, the higher the effectiveness on decay, and also the increase of firmness of fruits. Electrolyzed water is another included in another task. Very interesting substance, very interesting technology, we can say, is the use of salts that is become more effective after electrolyzation. We can see an effectiveness against pathogen. For example, sodium bicarbonate, not electrolyzed, but when it is electrolyzed, the penicillium survival is reduced. But there are also some salts that after electrolyzation, for example, copper sulfate, that in which the activity, in vitro activity, but also in vivo activity was reduced. So depends on the salts. Interestingly, this substance, this technology, that is a passage of water through 2 electrodes, can charge the water, and this water become in this water the survival of penicillium is strongly reduced, the blue line, And also the infection by the pathogen was reduced on fruits. And you can see also the water that from brown become clear. And in this case, you can save water. Instead of changing water 1 or 2 times per day, you can change water once a week. The problem of electrolyzed water is that you can, if you use the as electrolyte sodium chloride, you can have production of chlorine that is some harmful that can become harmful for the fruits from the commodity. But if you use sodium bicarbonate, there is no production. DPD means no production of this low value, means no production of chlorine. So it is an interesting technology. Chelating agent ADTA was is another task that was carried out by Luis Gonzalez and Rosa Ballester from Spain, Evia, Valencia. And this ADTA is a common food additive, and they observed that the in vitro there is no, in presence of this food additive, there is no fluorescence. It means no development of mycelium, and also among different substances like ADTA, the ADTA at 10 millimolar was the most effective in reducing the incidence of decay on oranges. Last but not least, task for number 9, inert dust use against pests. In this case is zeolite. That was carried out by Germinara, Salvatore Germinara, University of Foggia in southern Italy. And they tested against Bactrocera olea, that is the agent of olive fruit fly, and against Cytophilus granarius, that is responsible for granary. It is a granary weevil, so a lot of loss during the storage of this important commodity. They use natural zeolite, in particular Cuban zeolite, and they observed concerning the olive reduction of puncture and eggs, and this kind of effect was ascribed also to altering the volatiles profile produced by the plants, by the twigs, and also was effective this zeolite in controlling granary weevil infestation. They observed high mortality in adults and interference with the reproductivity of the insect. So this is just a short summary of what we are doing. We have done during this project, and for sure it is an interesting project. When Gianfranco said to me to participate without money, I was really happy to do this. Why? Because we are working with these alternative, we can say these are alternative control means. And every time we have to say, okay, this means is fine because it has been used in the States and is called generally regarded as safe. So we had nothing European, nothing of our own country. In this case, we are starting with the basic substances, and really we can feel the lack of active ingredient that, as said by Gianfranco, the European Union will see in a few years. For sure, we have not so much substances in this day from 24 become 25, but I'm a real feel that the number of these substances will increase, and from 25 will become maybe also more than 2,000 as a report for grass substances in the Northern America. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Antonio, for this excellent presentation. And indeed, I think that from the studies of sociologists, it clearly looks that the basic substances may be much more acceptable for public, especially in case of post-harvest disease treatment.
Sure.
When the product is treated, the substance is treated directly, applied directly on the products, which are then probably
Very near
consumed.
the consumption. Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Thank you very much for presentation. Are there any questions? If not, we are going to Rome to Laura Orzali, who will join us remotely. Laura, go ahead, please.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you excellently.
Okay. Just one moment. Okay. So, good morning to everybody. I'm Laura Orzali from CREA.
Excuse me, Laura, you may wish to switch to presentation mode.
Oh, I did.
Oh yes, maybe there is some delay.
Oh,
We can see your presentation. Well, it's not in presentation mode, but I think not possible.
maybe it's a little slow.
Maybe you can
try
try
again.
to change. Yeah, okay.
I try again. Now?
You can increase the size of the slide.
You can, yes, it's also possible. You
I'm
can
sorry, because
increase
I see in the presentation mode and we...
Devi cliccare sulla televisioncina di sotto, come
Sì, l'ho fatto.
Probably it's a problem of screens. So she has two screens. Try to switch off the screens. And
Like this. Okay, maybe now. Oh, I'm sorry, because we tried before and everything was okay. Okay, so let's try again. Now, can you see the presentation?
Now it's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. We are happy it works. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Laura Orzali from CREA Crop Protection and Certification from Rome. I'm very sorry not to stay there with you, but I want to thank you to give me the possibility to speak and present the activities carried on within the Working Package 5. This working package is about testing basic substances and potential basic substances to manage seed-borne pathogens and pests. Why seed-borne pathogens and pests? Seed is an essential input for crop production, since the 90% of the world's food crop are grown from seed. And so the healthy seed is essential to improve crop yield and increase the food production. So seed treatments represent a crucial and important step for the reduction of the seeds infection. The volume of research on seed treatment has increased in the past decade, in the past years, along with the search for other green technologies more sustainable. That and all that the published research are very well reported in this scientific review, where we find, together with the traditional fungicide treatment, a series of green, more sustainable and green technologies, as physical treatment or treatments with the use of biocontrol agents, or with the use of natural compounds as basic substances, divided in basic and potential basic substances, as my colleague explained widely before. In this table, the activities carried out by each participant within the project are reported, and I will explain in details after. And in this table, I highlighted with two different colors to distinguish them from each other, the basic substances and the potential substances tested within this working package. And so we have mainly chitosan and as the basic substances, and as a potential we have terpene, clove essential oil, and another formulation based on plant extracts. And I can spoil you that all these compounds tested were found to be effective in reducing the pathogen infection, and so the disease severity associated to that pathogen. Here is the Marche University group that works in collaboration with the INRAT of Tunisia. With expertise in testing basic substances and potential towards seed-borne pathogens of squash, onion, and cabbage in vitro and in field trials, proceeding with the detection and identification of the pathogens by classical and molecular methods. And their research topic was focused on the effect of chitosan and as basic substances, and chitosan oligomers and a terpene mixture as potential basic substances toward cabbage foliar disease caused by two species of Alternaria, Stemphylium botrosium, and a species from Cladosporium. And the severity of the foliar disease evaluated by McKinney index was significantly reduced by both the chitosan and the mixture of terpene treatments. The same treatments were also evaluated in onion toward botrytis. And in this host pathogen couple, the best treatment that was found to be effective was the chitosan treatment that reduced the McKinney index, so the severity of the diseases, up to 60%, acting like a proper disinfectant. The following case study was investigated by the Technological Institute of Tepic from Mexico within a program directed at finding novel and new alternatives to synthetic fungicides to control disease of store seed. In this cases, we are talking about corn. And the problem concerned the mycotoxin producing fungi in stored corn, so with a big and a serious threat for the human and animal healthy. And the treatment consisted in using a commercial formulation at different rate of concentrations against Aspergillus niger, Fibenicillium funiculosum, and Fusarium verticilloides. And the results show that the chitosan 2% was able to cause a significant inhibition of mycelial growth of all the three pathogens, suggesting that this concentration should be used to control and to reduce the presence of that mycotoxin producing fungi. This is the CREA group from Rome, to which I belong, and that has been working from years in finding alternative strategies for seed treatment against fungal seed-borne disease pathogens with the use of essential oils. And we wanted to share within this project the development of innovative and rapid diagnostic method for the pathogen detection. This early detection method was very helpful in this other case study where we tested the activity as a seed treatment of essential oil of clove against Tilletia levis, the causal agent of wheat common bunt. And the symptoms in this disease, the symptoms arise only at the final stage of the development of the plant, so after the spike's maturation. So the early detection method based on PCR real time permitted to find the pathogen presence since the very early stage when the seedlings are very short, small. And so it was possible to assess the treatment efficacy without waiting for the symptoms expression. And this evaluation made by real-time PCR was confirmed by the phenotypic assessments. And so it was possible to state that the clove essential oil, was found to be effective in reducing the presence of Tilletia levis implanta when applied both as spray and immersion treatment. Both again as pure oil, as we see the CO, or with the in formulation as we tested two formulation, the Bioxeda A and Bioxeda B, with the clove oil encapsulated inside. This is the plant pathology unit from University of Torino that works on seed treatment with essential oil, plant extract, and biocontrol agents for cereal and vegetable seed-borne disease. And the combining detection, traditional detection techniques with diagnostic molecular method. The case study they presented for this project concerned the efficacy of clove essential oil against Fusarium fusicuroi on rice, causing Bacane disease. The disease evaluation was carried out with blotter test, so with an in vivo, in laboratory, but in vivo test, and in field trials on two different susceptible cultivars. And significant difference among the treatments were found, so that we can see that the essential oil was able to reduce the percentages of infection, not only in vivo with blotter tests, but also in field trials. In another case, again concerning rice and Fusarium fusicuroi, the efficacy of a treatment, the formulation based on plant extract was tested. And the treatment with that plant extract significantly reduced Fusarium fusicuroi incidence in vitro and in vivo in both the cultivar tested, considered. So I must say that there have been quite a lot of pretty dissemination activities and deliverables that were produced during this project in this working package. So we count one webinar, 4 poster presentation at national and international congresses. We have 2 already published paper, 1 scientific research paper and 1 review. And we are very close to the submission and the publication of scientific review where all the unit members collaborated as author. And there is another important aspect that I didn't talk about, that is the possible phytotoxicity. Because for each substances, it should be found the best effective substances, but that have no toxic effect for the plants. So this is a very important topic. That phytotoxicity data was not reported in this presentation, but the germination tests were performed to avoid this risk for all the case study presented. And so for concluding, we can say that sustainable seed treatment using basic substances. I reported the case of chitosan and the potential basic substances like clove oil, terpene, and plant extract have been proven to be very good alternatives to control main seed-borne pathogens and for promoting more sustainable crop system. So we really wish that these kind of alternatives will be further developed as a proprietary treatment for ensuring the global food security in a green way. And at last, I want to spend just two words in memory of Dr. Luca Riccioni, that passed away last year, leaving us a big vacuum, but a huge heritage in field of plant pathology. He spent his life for scientific research, always looking forward, innovation and future. So I thank him and thank you all for listening my presentation.
Thank you very much, Laura, for this excellent presentation. We have the discussion session later, but if there are any issues which needs to be clarified immediately, please go ahead. Don't hesitate to ask a question now. If there are not questions, then thank you very much again. And the next question will be by two authors, Patrice Marchand from France and Elisabeth Carafa from Hungary. And I'm not sure who is presenting, maybe Patrice, yeah?
Both.
Please go ahead.
Both.
I'm
going to start. First, what we heard today is a dream situation. That means you do field trials and then you go for applications. That was not the case when I started to work on basic substance in 2011. People at ITAP said, you have to register. And my first question was, anyhow? They said yes. So this is a pretty bad word when you know me, because now I became the French basic substance kamikaze, working on all these stuffs and with all kind of tricky things. You may know. So you know that we are, as the basic substance, inside the PPP regulation. Sometimes looking at Article 23 is not clear if it's in or out the PPP regulation, but anyhow, we went from what we call in France low concern natural products, PNPP in French, straightforward to the European PPP application monster, and this was before Euclid, at least. So back to Article 23, Gianfranco told a bit, it should be a neat substance, of course, with all kind of nothing, no concern, no endocrine, no immunotoxic, and that would be the first criteria to stop any application. And of course, it's not a PPP, or it's not even a part of the PPP. I would explain this since vinegar is not 5% acetic acid, since acetic acid is approved. So you have to define vinegar, you have to define vinegar with the CAS number, chemical abstract substance number of the vinegar. And that was the commission gave it to me. And as I heard about orange oil is already a PPP. So sorry guys, but you won't get orange oil as a basic substance. Also, they removed the application, or they stopped the renewal, and that's still possible since we did it with the sodium hypochlorite. We waited until they stopped the application and we proposed it as a basic substance. And of course, they are not for sale at the end of the day, so you get your stuff approved and you cannot sell it, but fortunately, producers can buy it. So there are active substance. This is the first row. The first sentence in the Article 23, basic substance are active substance, so they are not different from active substance. That means you need, from those field trials, you need a gap table. Even if you have a neat substance, you may do a full application, but if you don't have any gap table, it would be difficult, especially under Euclid. So this is the gap table. This is maybe the worst gap table because above you have sugar, And you cannot imagine at the beginning of the day sugar to be a plant protection active substance with cap table, crops, condition, targets, and all this stuff. That was even a question from the Commission before the vote. Is the sugar insecticide? So they asked us to remove the insecticide word, and they said that it would be a biotic, biostimulant, a plant stress defense somehow, because if you put both sugar and insecticide, in fact, it does the job pretty well. But anyway, the basic substance pathway is like that right now. Any kind of applicants can come, companies, small, medium enterprise, third parties, NGOs, farmers. I do some with farmers. And agro institute like ourselves, and maybe some university can do it. So the first step is admissibility. You have a lot of work to get this admissibility. Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years, almost 5 for talc in case, and you have to put your stuff under Euclid. That's quite easy right now. We do it constantly. I'm going to do one next week and one next month. So it's kind of easy, although we have less and less applicants because all these NGOs, Farmers Association, are most likely not going to run for Euclid. So at the end of the day, spraying all this knowledge, we just got, and we still get questions, can you make it for us, because we are not going to do. Next step is nowadays a public consultation that was supposed to involve minor users, EPO here, and orphan users, but we don't really know exactly what was going during this public consultation. At the end of the day, you get EFSA outcome. The worst trouble is when you get the question from EFSA, up to 86 pages, you have 1 month. So this kind of tricky, and it's why you're going to see that a lot of people are resigning, withdrawn their stuff, and nowadays the new revision of the guideline is taking care of these many cases of withdrawal. And at the end of the day, even if you get approval of your stuff, you still go back to application for organic production up to 2016. So the first stuff is the guidelines, still working document. So we expect a revision 12 ahead, and maybe one day voted at the PAF committee. The 11 revision explain all these withdrawal situations. So we have nowadays only 24 basic substance, as Ippolito said. That means 36% of winning the game. More and more withdrawal coming from applicants before, after the question, after the EFSA outcome, or even if they have in hands a negative draft, because some people don't want to get implementing regulation for their application, telling to everybody that it's not approved. So this is the last results. You can see less and less basic substance every year. We have already 3 red stuff in 2023, but they're already transformed into orange. That means withdrawal from applicants to avoid this non-approved implementing regulation. From the 24 basic substance, unfortunately, 18 were done by ITAD. That means we don't have so much applicants. And even I got myself personally 19 of the 24, with 1 personally. And then you can see in full green those allowed in organic production, and there's still 2 not allowed. But the chitosan may be allowed soon. Approving timing from the deposit is increasing slowly because we had almost 40 months for the last chitosan. So it takes over 2 years, sometimes a great time to get admissibility. And of course, the standard deviation is quite high because the fastest one was 10 months and the biggest talc was 70 or even 71 months and 3 EFSA outcome. It was a hard time to get this. So here you can see that all basic substance can do everything. There is no limitation. We spoke today about post-harvest. We spoke about seed treatment, tool disinfection. Everything can be done with the basic substance. We expected to get sodium hypochlorite voted in July, but they didn't came. There's no more basic substance in the agenda of July. So, and there's still discussion and a lot of criticism about this chemical as a basic substance from the member states' point of view. And we expect maybe extract from Cassia amara this year, but I'm not sure because everything is on the table right now at the Commission and a big discussion for those basic substance, and especially because we have a lot of non-approved, a lot of withdrawal. So as I mentioned, in organic production, if you see the situation in 2015, there was already 9 basic substance and only 1 in organic production. Although every basic at this time was, all the applications were done by organic sector. So they decided to put basic substance, food from animal and vegetable plant origin directly allowed in organic production. So you can see both lines now are parallel, and we expect to get the all basic substance allowed in organic production soon.
And beyond all these problems, which has been listed previously by the registration, there are still gap between the knowledge we have got and the spread toward the users, the end users. For example, when I check the information about the basic substances which are approved by the Hungarian authorities homepage, it listed 24 plant protection purposes, but informations were not fully adapted in the national list. Moreover, there are difficulties to transfer the common names to different languages, which may also restrict the spread of this knowledge and to search for the latest results by the end users. And another problem, there are a huge overlapping between the basic substances and generally regarded as safe products in the United States, because basic substances is restricted in the European Union, and on the other part of the world, mainly connected to the United States, and this grass is more widely known. So let's have a look at some examples. So there were a lot of results regarding the chitosan and the chitosan hydrochloride, and the regulation was not updated in the Hungarian by the Hungarian authorities. We can say that several basic substances are registered not as generally regarded as safe, but as food itself in the United States registration, and sometimes the names, even in European Union, sodium hydrogen carbonate is registered as sodium bicarbonate in the States, and in Hungarian it's soda bicarbonate as well. So a little bit resembles to the American name itself. So there are some difficulties. For example, Utrica extract is registered by two different numbers in the States as well, depending on the species they have used. So there are some problems with this information to be spread.
It is why we provide, and we are requested to provide synonyms inside the application dossier. Sometimes it's quite difficult, actually, to make this. Sorry, it's a bit small, but here is the stuff I did specially for the basic Euphresco program, list and table of approved, not approved, and now I'm listing all extensions, late extensions with links. I listed also not approved stuff that may be right now on the table at European level to determine if they could be or not future basic substances. As we have seen some, food status is not the best way, since we can see inside this non-approved substance some compounds, food additive compounds provided by ITAB or some other guys. And some others were also withdrawn. So also I listed the ongoing stuff. We have ongoing stuff, most likely non-approved. Some are on the stop clock. I've seen some stuff on ozone. We have pending applications, maybe positively taken in consideration by the Commission. And the last is all the applications, including extension of uses under Euclid, that's going right now, already deposited or not deposited. And we have the first capsicum oleoresin admissible dossier via Euclid. So it's working, it's difficult, but it's working finally. And we expect to this respect having somehow the first basic substance approved under Euclid. You can see in the middle that I already took care of the water with some Italian colleagues because there was a lot of gap lines, and sorry for that, but I missed in the first row 2 EPO usages that I would definitively add later. So it's the end of this presentation. I just want to say that right now the Euclid procedure is going to be clarified by us, both in French and English, hopefully as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Patrice. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for your presentation. And maybe please let me emphasize something you said, but maybe it should be emphasized more, that any work for basic substances market placement is done for public interest, because the institution or person who does a job has no product from any patent later on. Any basic substance which is for now, any basic substance which is approved for use in the EU is just approved for use, and anybody can use it as such. So on one hand, it's very easy for users, but on another hand, after placing it on the market, there are no entities which are interested in commercial distribution of this news. It means, yeah, I'm happy to discuss this.
I do not agree, because as soon as we got the sugars, some people remember, I'm not going to say where, asked to make bottles with sugar, and they would send us 15% royalties. So of course, it's kind of tricky when you have a special and definitively a food stuff in hand, but you know that it's only for sugar, because all the basic substances are sold. especially in France, Belgium, and nowadays in Italy, Spain also. And a lot of people, even if it's affordable, if you can produce it by yourself, that's the French point of view, produce by yourself. When you have hectares, you cannot produce it by yourself, or you don't have the time to do it. So there's a lot of people. And of course, I wanted to make an emphasis of what she said, the knowledge transfer. My problem is I don't have enough time to do this knowledge transfer, at least just in France. And I don't have the people to do this. And also, you also consider not the 24 basic substances as, I would say, homogeneous quantity. You have history, for example, in some basic substance, in Italy with chitosan, plant extract in France and Spain. For example, when I did the soybean lecithins, in fact, this was already sold in Switzerland by Andermatt. And as soon as the approval was given, they removed it from the market, strangely. So because I know them, I work with them for some other some other biopesticide, and I said, okay, now you have the market, and they just remove it from the market. And I found this pretty strange because nowadays, slowly, the small, tiny companies take this, especially chitosan, but some other stuff. And nowadays, I'm already working with some big multinational companies that are really interested in this, maybe avoiding this hundreds of million euro approval. But if you consider that at the end of the day, it's the same substance, of course, you don't want to spend so much money, especially because even if you have this registered as an active substance with patent, if it's sugar, everybody is going to take the gap table and make the application in the field, and you won't get your money. So that's typically the whereas number 18 in the beginning of the regulation 1107. Stuff you cannot really sell and you cannot make your money on that. That's another point. And but a lot of people are regularly selling the stuff. At the beginning in France, they put just the name of the substance, as some people said. But now we have even some brand names. So I recommend to put the brand name smaller than the basic substance name. Usually when I'm talking about this basic substance for, as I said to Gianfranco, more than 3 hours, I really ask the people if it's not for sale, what is the VAT? It is the same as the PPP. It is the same as the chemicals. It is the same as the biopesticide. In France, we have different regulations. For example, in France, we have PPPs at 20%, biopesticide, organic pesticide at 10%, foodstuff at 5.5%, and medicinal product like the calcium hydroxide at 2.1%. So never the French government answered this question. I know I'm a really tricky guy, but
yeah, but those are the details. Yeah.
But they made some control on that, and people got fines just for asking VAT of biopesticide instead of chemicals. And when you see this from 10 to 20%, almost 400,000 euros, you can say that the stuff are sold and people are buying it.
It's a good information, but there is such a big market on those products.
Yes, and also the question of the efficacy is not anymore a problem if you consider few basic substances already, like bicarbonate, you mentioned, transform into active substance. That means some companies are really interested in formulating having this as an active substance. And I know there is almost 2 to 3 companies on the chitosan one also. And there is some companies selling mixed equisetum with some other stuff. So it's not the point of telling that those basic substances are not efficient. And as soon as the volume of chemicals are reducing daily, almost daily, there would be a big pressure on those basic substances to do the job, because if you look at the number of all biocontrol agents, there's not much coming, in fact.
Yeah. And I think it only what you says, it only stresses the fact that there is very much need for scientific effort on biopesticides, on the basic substances.
Also, what I wanted to point out is that what some people said here, that it's acceptable for consumers, sometimes it's not acceptable by authorities.
Yeah.
Since we have a lot of like potassium sorbate, for example, application that didn't reach the approval. Also, so I doubt that, for example, EDTA would reach the approval as a food additive, as basic substance, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Some other questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions here in the room or in the audience who participates remotely? I can see Gianfranco would like to.
Yeah, I have a question to Patrice. There is sodium hypochlorite that is in the process to be approved.
Yes.
We know that it is a disinfectant, so it is very welcome, but it may have some critical issues. It depends on the use, of course, that you have to do. Can you give us more information about this process of approval?
For a long time, it was supposed to be non-approved, and it was proposed in Part C of the. Sorry, for some long time it was proposed to be not approved, and it was proposed in part in discussion in Part C of the agendas as non-approval. But now I have a positive draft of approval, and it was supposed to be in July, but it looks like we have a fight between 11 member states saying this would be approved, 11 member states saying this won't be approved, and they stopped the discussion on that. Because it looks like it would be acceptable as a basic substance diluted, but nobody is going to sell water. And if you and they know that this would be used concentrated at 12.8%. So we are at this point, and I'm just counting points between member states. I found strange that in the meantime, some member states made what is called emergency derogations, Article 53 tons. I guess the France did it 16 or 17 times, even more right now. There is some member states that push the basic substance, and some member states that are completely against basic substance, saying, for example, if you take gloves, it's dangerous, so it can be a basic substance.
Thank you very much. Any more questions to Patrice?
Oh yes,
to,
it is discussion.
Elizabeth, or any other speakers? I cannot see the screen, so ever is in chats.
You can give the floor to Elena Panicki.
Yes. In case that we have no more question, it seems like this, I would like to give floor to Elena Panicki from European Commission for final conclusions. Elena, if possible, the floor is yours. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. You probably can see me. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for giving me the floor, and thank you very much, as I said at the beginning, for inviting me here. It was extremely interesting also because it's, of course, topics that we deal with, I would not say on a daily basis, but on a regular basis. And I'm glad to see that the discussion is moving on and results are really showing that alternatives are possible to, let's say, synthetic plant protection products. Organic production is in a certain way, from the pest control point of view, vulnerable because the ways to control pest and disease are severely restricted. And in organic, as you know, in organic farming, pests and diseases should be on the first place, fight by natural enemies, the choice of species, resistant varieties, and the choice of the right varieties, heterogeneous materials that will be more and more used in the future crop rotation, cultivation techniques, and physical methods. Only if a plant cannot adequately be protected by these methods, some products and substances authorized by the Commission may be used, and these substances are listed in the Implementing Regulation 1165/2021. In that regulation, all the basic substances that are currently authorized horizontally are listed. If in the future new basic substances from plant or animal origin will be authorized, they will be automatically authorized for the use in organic also. And this is based on a recommendation by the expert group EGTOP, so the expert group for technical advice on organic production, who advised that all the basic substances are compatible with organics. It is therefore of utmost importance for the development of organics that the possibilities of basic substances are further explored and put into practice. And we hope that some of the new basic substances can replace a few of the so-called contentious inputs in organics, which is one of the problems that we have in organics. That would also bring to the, let's say, to elimination, progressive elimination of those products or those compounds that are also manufactured by these contention inputs. It is important to develop alternatives for these, for instance, copper compounds products, because they are obstacles for the development of the organic, or well, more the obstacles are, I would say, the, let's say, the critical point, one of the critical points of the development of organic. And as you know, we have the objective of the Green Deal, that is the expansion of the organic land to 25% by 2030. By the time the goal, well, 25% of course is in surfaces. By the time that this goal will be achieved in 2030, you as a scientist will be able to proudly say that you have contributed to this achievement. Rightly on this, I would like to underline the importance that the Commission von der Leyen, the current Commission, has attached to sustainability and the need to increase sustainability as the sole way to fight climate change. And this is the aim of the Green Deal. How the agricultural sector can contribute? Well, the farm to fork, you already know, it has been already named during the different interventions. The farm to fork strategy lays down the way to shifting to a more sustainable food system. This has implication for the agricultural sector. So, for instance, the decreasing of the use of pesticides, of soluble fertilizers, antimicrobials, while praising for an increase of organic agriculture, for which, as I said, the target has been set at 25%. To accompany the sector in this growth, the Commission is developing an action plan. Well, it's already implementing this action plan. It's ongoing in full swing, built on 3 axes: to increase demand, first axe, to increase supply, second axe, but in particular to increase the sustainability of the organic sector, because organic can be a model, but can also continue improving its own contribution to sustainability. And I said before, for instance, contributing to reduce contentious inputs as copper, which is regularly considered a critical point in organics. And it's the first thing people say when they tell you, convert to organic, but you have copper, and then you say, yes, you have all the rest. But this is always the same discussion. And don't forget that to underline its commitment to support organics, beside the traditional money the EU allocates to farmers as the CAP, a substantial chunk of money has been allocated to research, which is of a huge interest for you. In fact, 30% of the money that of the cluster dedicated to agriculture, rural development, and forestry are specifically targeting organics or related topics in the next years. Therefore, I would like to thank you for your commitments, for your very interesting presentations, and for your, which I will also share with my colleagues, which are dealing more with basic substances. And I also to thank you for your engagement in an area of research, which, as you see, is perfectly in line with the needs of the transition to a sustainable food system. I wish you success in the dissemination and put in practice of the results. And I'm waiting for receiving the minutes of this meeting. Thank you very much, and good continuation.
Thank you very much, Elena. And now I give floor to Gianfranco for final.
I want just to tell thanks to all of you, because it was a very nice journey. We did these projects. A lot of people contributed. A lot of new people we met along this tour, and we engaged. We knew and shared knowledge. So thanks to all of you. Thanks to EPPO that hosted us, but a big thanks to Baldissera that allowed us to stay together within Euphresco project. So we will try to leave some more seeds of this work, as all the speakers and many more are writing down, placing together. That it is not easy, because in the first paper that we submitted, one of the critical points was you are too many authors. But this is a network, and this is work, this is nice, and we'll try to going on. So thanks to all of you, and keep in touch for if you want to get updated. Take in mind that there are social media that are going on, and we will find a way to make available even the papers, but also the presentation of today, because they can be important to some of us, and for also the other people that are not with us today. So thanks for all you for taking time to share a Saturday morning of August, to giving your time to this presentation. So thanks to all of you, and see you next time. Enjoy. Bye.